And as we heard in the headlines, some 500 youth agropastoral entrepreneurs from across the globe have opened reflections in Yaoundé on how to harness youth potential in the agro-industrial sector for sustainable transformation. Agriculture and Rural Development Minister Gabriel Mbairobe, who opened the summit, called on the youths to cling onto agriculture, which he described as the only sector that guarantees jobs for them in the future. Kilian Datndifon reports on today's opening ceremony.
Exhibition stands at the lobby of the Yaoundé Conference Center showcase what 500 participants from 35 countries from across the world will be sharing during the 4-day Agropastoral Summit.
Get the different experiences that you have in Africa with working with young people.
For Cameroon, as for Ghana, where everything grows as soon as you throw it on the ground, I think that this is an excellent opportunity to see how we can harness the benefits that the good Lord has given us.
I've heard a lot of good stories from youth in different countries and how they started their own entrepreneurial work, their challenges, how they overcame their challenges. So I'm taking back a lot of ideas from very rich agricultural countries like Cameroon and other countries, similar countries, about how to think about increasing rural engagement in sustainable development.
At the opening ceremony, also attended by local and foreign members of government and top officials of the International Fund for Agricultural Development and other partners, Cameroon's Agriculture Minister outlined the stakes of this summit.
The real place of exchange. Our head of settled that the land don't betray anyone. So we need to trust the land, to trust the agriculture, and employment is possible in agriculture now.
Participants will be drilled in workshops on such themes as employment of rural youth, professional training, and access to land and funding.
And as I was announcing in the headlines, our guest on the 7:30 news tonight is Paul Winters, who is the Associate Vice President for Strategy and Knowledge Department at the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. Paul Winters, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we're glad to have you. Now, the first question I want to ask you is, investing in rural development is one of the major goals that your organization seeks to promote.
Yes.
Now, you know how far it's been faring in Cameroon. How successful do you judge it to be today?
Well, historically, since 1980, we've been working here, and we've reached 578,000 households. Things slowed down a bit 5-6 years ago, but in the last few years, they've really picked up. And we have this program that focuses on rural youth that is providing them with support, training them, but also keeping long-term interaction with them. So we've created these 12 incubators in the country. Those incubators are designed not just to train them and give them initial support, but to accompany them as they go on the journey of becoming entrepreneurs. And so there's been a real uptake in the program here in Cameroon in the last 2 or 3 years.
And the youth agropastoral entrepreneurship is one of the flagship programs of IFAD. How far, how near, or how close are we to the 2020 target?
Well, like many countries, there's a long way to go to reaching the targets at this stage in a project. Our ultimate objective is to reach 25,000 youth and start 5,000 businesses. So we're working towards that. So we're moving quite well towards that objective. The incubators are going, the training's happening, the tutoring of the youth is occurring. So, and we saw today at the summit a number of examples, everything from bottles of juice to different types of livestock, the processing of agricultural goods, so a whole range of things. So we're seeing results there. Now the total results we'll have to wait until 2020, but we are getting there.
Now, you definitely are a partner, but you are not standing alone. You have to work in partnership with the government,
of course.
Say the government of Cameroon.
Right.
What support do you expect the government to put in so that the two of you hand in hand can reach that target?
Well, we need to work together, and this year we're actually doing a country strategy with the Cameroon government. And what we have to do in doing that is to make sure that the interventions we design, the activities we do, correspond to what the Cameroon government's objectives are. So it's not IFAD coming in and telling the government what to do. It's the Cameroon government saying, having a broader strategy, and us linking to that strategy and finding the parts where we can help the most. As discussed, we particularly have a strong focus on youth. We have a relatively new president in IFAD. He wants half of our projects out there in the world to be youth sensitive. And so this is one of them. And so that's the component that we hope to help Cameroon with going forward.
You attended today's opening ceremony. You saw the youth. They were in their numbers out there, very enthusiastic.
Yes.
What support or how much input can they benefit from IFAD now that you are here for them? What did you tell them?
Well, in that particular project, they can benefit because we are targeting youth in that project. We also have starting what's called the Agribusiness Capital Fund. This is a fund that's focused mostly in Africa, and it's going to help the private sector invest in rural areas in order to provide employment for youth. It also will provide funds directly to youth that are working in the private sector. Remember, farming is a business. It is the private sector. And what we want to do is to provide funds at that kind of missing middle. There's the microfinance that gives you small amounts, $1,000, and then you can get over $1 million. Getting that missing middle is very hard. So the ABC fund is designed to provide that funding that's in that in-between area so we can get local production. I saw in your first story, this is one of the things the government wants to do. And this is the kind of thing we want to support with the ABC fund, having local producers help facilitate local production.
Why are you targeting primarily the youth when the community is made up of a whole strata of people?
Well, the youth is, in Africa, the number of youth is growing dramatically. In the world right now, about 20% of the youth are from sub-Saharan Africa. By 2050, almost 40% will be from sub-Saharan Africa. So it's growing quickly. They're the future. They're the future of this continent. They're the future of countries like Cameroon. So we need to focus on them because if we make the mistakes of the past, they won't have the capacity to overcome the problems that we face now. And so it becomes a critical part of policy to focus on rural youth. The majority are still in rural areas. Agriculture is still the driver of employment, of opportunity. And so the focus there is really a focus to try to achieve the SDGs. If we want to end hunger, have zero poverty, then we really need to focus on young people in the continent and make sure that they have a future so that we can achieve those objectives.
I don't know the experience that you have from the part of the world where you come from, but in Cameroon, it is only now that youth, the political discourse is targeting youth in matters of agriculture because youth seem to shun at agriculture. They go in more for the white-collar jobs. Right. What particular message do you have for those of them who are already engaged and those who are still hanging on the fence?
Well, I think that part of the problem is organizations like myself, who in the past looked at farming as, even had pictures on brochures that made farming look like drudgery, that looked like something of the past. And I was at a summit here in Rwanda, and a young woman showed up a brochure and said, this is not what we want in agriculture. She said, you need someone young, you need someone beautiful, you need someone who's working hard in agriculture and can see it as getting ahead. And so we need to realize that that's the case. And I think part of it is a lot of governments are realizing now that the old agriculture of just working in staple crops, of simple production is gone. The countries are urbanizing, they're changing, the food system's changing, and now there's these huge opportunities, and agriculture can be an incredibly entrepreneurial activity, and so it's a great opportunity for young people, and this is what we need to convince them. But we need to start with ourselves and convince ourselves that yes, it is a great opportunity, and make sure that we portray that message out there to the global community.
And you saw the youth agropastoral entrepreneurs out there, very enthusiastic.
Extremely.
What is it that can make them believe that IFAD is going to be a long-term partner?
I think part of it is to continue the dialogue and to continue talking to these youth groups. We've decided at IFAD we're going to create a youth council so that we have the constant input of young people at our organization. As I said, our president, Gilbert Hongbo, has been, the minute he came, this was one of the first things he told me, is that we're going to start focusing on youth. He's from Togo, he understands the youth problem, and he wants to make sure it's seen as an opportunity and something that we can do. And so we just need to keep engaging. Even today, the interesting part of the discussion was when there was 5 young people on the stage, and they told us how they got ahead, how they were able to be entrepreneurial. And a lot of it was about doing research, solving problems. Anything that came up, they would have to overcome constraints. And they give us great ideas of how we should proceed, so we need to keep them engaged.
And from the way you think and you talk, would you say the Yaoundé Summit was a worthwhile initiative?
Yeah, it was very worthwhile. It's the first time we had a member state, an individual country, that partnered with IFAD to do this kind of summit. So it's been a great idea. There was a clear dedication from the government. You saw the pictures of the number of ministers that came. So it was an excellent example of what could be done in lots of countries.
Paul Winters, thank you for coming. You are the Associate Vice President of the International Fund for Agriculture, in charge of the Strategy and Knowledge Department. We appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay.